Hi guys, welcome to Soul School Spiritual Guidance and Healing. This is Molly. I'm trying to get some music set up in the background here. But I'm here with you guys today because the messages are just coming in, and I really feel like for me, sometimes I do a really good job in my conversations with my guides on my own, and sometimes I just need to pull the cards out and try to begin to like piece things together to try to get the bigger picture. So that's what I wanted to invite you guys here to do with me today. And we'll talk about the different pieces that are good, that are coming together, and then the bigger picture that they're beginning to form. But real quick, don't forget that I am available for bookings, and you can find out all that information in the links below. All right, skipping ad. We're getting into my music. This is my place where I can just chill and get you guys the message. So in her reading, San was talking. I feel like that's where I heard this. Something about like, that's not what I wanted to do, you guys. I need to focus. She was talking in her messages. I feel like that's where this came from. About the idea of like, if you're putting together a huge puzzle, there becomes a certain point at which you can begin to see the bigger picture of what that puzzle is going to look like when it's complete. Right? That it's like every piece that you put into place informs that bigger picture. But there comes this point where you're like, oh, it's, Notre Dame, or it's some mountains and daisies, right? Like where that bigger picture really starts to come together. And I feel like they're really cute because they're showing me like my guides just like holding this great big puzzle piece. Like, can you just take this already? All right, so we're piecing together a couple of different ideas that keep coming up in the consciousness that I am tapped into. And they do want me to talk about that because I've been in a communication with a couple other people who are tapped into that same consciousness. You can think of it as when you've opened up your third eye, you're opening yourself up to communicating with spirit and just like being the antenna that can pick up the energies around us. It's like having a radio receiver, right? It's like you're a radio and you can tune yourselves in, or not so much. Well, I guess you don't really realize that you're tuning. When we're doing the work to try to clarify and improve the quality of our vibrational frequency of our inner state, that's the tuning of the radio station that we don't always know that we're doing, right? Like we're doing it for how it feels, right? How it impacts our day-to-day life, how we live and experience the world, right? I just do better. I'm more productive. I'm happier. I'm feeling more tapped in when I'm vibrating at a particular frequency, right? And when I talk about high or low, we're literally talking about the rate of frequency. It's not a moral judgment, okay? So nonetheless, here I am tuned in to like Inner Earth FM 103.2. I don't know, right? But it's like I'm tapped into a particular radio station that others are picking up information from as well. This, by the way, is something that has been confirmed in channeled literature such as Voices of the Confederation, I believe, talks about this. Law of One definitely talks about this in the raw materials. How certain ideas get dropped into the bandwidth, okay, that certain people are tuned into. And that's how they can get those ideas essentially out of the ether. All right. So in other words, oh my gosh, they're showing me that. Imagine these radio stations. Like for some of you guys, if you never used a radio, I don't know how much this is going to translate to you, right? But you got this machine, and depending on where the dial is set, you can receive different frequencies that are being broadcast out there. If you're not tuned into that particular radio station or frequency, you have no idea what they're saying. Like you have no idea that it's there, right? You're tuned into one steady radio station, you're not really hearing what's going on the other radio stations. So for some of you guys, you just have like no idea that that radio station's out there. Some of us are completely like tuned in. And an example of this that they want me to talk about is like when the telescope was invented. Think about that. How much that change our perspective of the world that we live in and our place in it. Like, if you guys don't know the history of Galileo and the scientific revolution and the way that his discoveries completely inverted the paradigm, the picture that we had, that the Catholic Church held about who we are in the world, now we've got NASA hiring theologians being like, how are we going to tell people that there's other life out there? 500 years later. Seriously, you guys, 500 years later. Nonetheless, there's like a couple different people who came up with that technology of the telescope at the same time, because it had been like airdropped into the cloud, and those people were tapped into the cloud in a particular way that they could pick up that information. So that's all just to provide background information for why I'm getting the same kind of images as certain readers that I follow, as certain people who follow me, right? So the conversation today is about wavelengths and frequencies. I feel like there are, imagine if we've only been capable of picking up channels in the AM frequency, okay? So those of you who didn't grow up with radios, there's two different settings. In AM, you get like talk radio, like sports radio, like farm reports, country music, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? But AM radio is sort of a symbol of an older time. Whereas when you tune into FM radio, that's where you get like the hits and the top 40 and like all these new different ways of being. I feel like, and if you didn't know, certain radios can only tap into AM. I remember, like, I feel like my dad had a pickup truck that only got AM music. Yeah, I remember that because I had to borrow, my car was in the shop and I had to borrow my dad's truck. And I could only listen to AM radio and remember being like, oh my gosh, this is like the dinosaur radio stations. Okay? I feel like we as receivers, it's something similar to that. We've only previously had access to AM radio bandwidth. Now we're getting tuned in to FM, right? It's just something, it's the difference between 3 and 4 dimensional objects. Okay, what are we doing with these cards? These cards, these True Life Reading cards, are meant to help us understand the movements of the energies, all right? I'm just telling you what the guides told me when we got these decks out. This Bianco Nera is black and white. It's almost like this is AM frequency and this is FM frequency. It's the difference between like dial-up and Wi-Fi. But actually now a lot of people are going from Wi-Fi to fiber optic, right? And that's something I've been talking about for a long time. It's like, my guides have shown me that they're building no, it's not building, they are repairing an energetic grid that exists around the planet Earth. Dang. There's a lot coming in right now. I don't know why I feel like the Atlanteans are responsible for its demise. But it's this energetic grid that my metaphor for it has been, it's like fiber optic consciousness. It's the Christ consciousness grid. It's the compassion consciousness grid. It is our 4th chakra, our heart chakra centered energy grid, because we've been functioning on a 3rd density, a solar plexus centered energy grid. This is the wisdom of the hidden realms. It's got some messages for us. I'm not quite sure what. But it's like that new frequency, that new radio station, if you will, has been available to us for a long time, but some of us are only now being able to open up to it. Now they're showing me Fallout. Have you guys ever played the Fallout video games? It's like, I'm going to talk about video games and I'm not very technical, so don't tease me. It's like a first-person shooter game. You're out on a mission. It's the post-apocalyptic, like post-nuclear war landscape, right? And you got your little Pip-Boy. Oh my God, I feel like there's so much more to that message. That Pip-Boy is basically like a little computer. You know, when you're in a video game, you're like, let's see my inventory. Let's see the map. All those things are in a computer that people are wearing on their wrist. God, why is this all Like, can we focus this? Okay, there's so much coming into me. It's like they want me to play like 3 radio stations at once. Okay. So in the Pip-Boy, there's actually a radio station. And like one of my favorites to play was Fallout New Vegas, right? Where you're like wandering through the desert and then you get to certain areas within the map of the game. And that radio frequency is only available to you while you're there, okay? And you pick up that radio frequency and it sends you on a mission, right? It'll be somebody like, help, help, I'm stuck in a cave. Something like that. And you're like, oh, I got a side quest now. It feels like some of us are being given these like side quests and main quests that we're picking up off of these radio stations. Ooh, okay. It's coming through so fast. I don't even have time to think about it before I talk about it. This wisdom of the hidden realms. What would be the wisdom of the hidden helms? If we switch that up, that's what we'd get. I don't know why that wanted to come out of my mouth. The hidden helms. I don't know. What is a helm? I know, but I can't get to my logical brain right now. I know my Google thinks it's suspicious that I want to look up a word. I have to prove I'm a robot, not a robot. I am not a robot. Pinky swear. Don't you love that we have to confirm to robots that we are not robots? What's going on here? I'm definitely not trying to start an AI conspiracy theory, so if you come up with one on your own, that's not me. I just want to define this word. Okay. It's a steer. It's the way a helm is what we use. It's the place from which we steer our vessel. Let's talk about the energy that we are moving out of, Spirit. Can we do that? The Wisdom of the Hidden Realms is an archetype deck. You guys, I can only imagine what it's like to be you right now trying to listen to me. Okay. I feel like that's what we're moving towards. Because it's, yeah, okay. That's what we're moving out of. This is what I needed. Can you show me? Yes. Okay. And here's the Rainbow Prince. This was the vision that I had in my mind. I knew this guy wanted to come out. Okay. The Rainbow Prince, see how this guy is like able to channel that rainbow in his hands? This is the bridge between the energies that we're moving out of, oh, so many things coming together, and the energies that we're moving into, all right? I feel like it has something to do with the types of magic that are available to us in these different realms. And when I am talking about these realms, I like to call this the shift from 3rd density to 4th density. And I feel like that's a lot of what this is, these messages coming through on this radio frequency are here to inform us about. I feel like that particular energy has been available to us for some time, but there have been forces within the 3rd density that are really trying to keep us blinded. It's almost like they're trying to shut down the radio stations that are broadcasting these new frequencies because they don't want us to be aware of the existence of those frequencies. Because what happens is when we get tuned into that, our power shifts, our power changes. I had in my QHHT hypnosis session, like, I don't know, high five to my subconscious mind or my higher self, whoever was guiding me through that, because what they did is they took me through 3 different lifetimes and then stacked them on top of one another so that I could see the difference in the way that manifestation took place, right? So there's this lifetime where I'm in space, right? And all I have to do is move things with my mind. And then I go to this next lifetime where I'm an Egyptian high priestess. And I'm like, oh, okay. So we don't just move things with our mind. We have to put them in cups and, you know, like they exist in leaves and just all the different ingredients that we use for magic and like magic rituals. It's almost like that was the 3D, the third density version of how to do magic. That's what the magician has to do with, because the magician, if you've been watching, if you watch Sand Tarot's Capricorn reading, she talks about the magician, and the magician stands at a table. She says that we're moving out of a magician energy. And on this table, oh shit, too many things. Let's hold that. Are the 4 elements. And that to me represents, like, you got a pentacle, a sword, a cup, and a wand, right? And that represents us, the way in which we channel our power into the elements. And it's almost like we're using the elements to do the magic. And then when we go up to the 4th density, we don't need the elements anymore. Like, we can just think them into the way that they need to be. Right? Oh, man. There's so much. Also, I want to tell you about the elements. The Tuatha De Danann has been coming up again and again and again. And it's like, my guides are bringing up old questions that they want me to ask again. Like, where did these light beings come from? And the myth is that they came from these 4 cities, and these like mystical cities. Some people have said that they're actually like in Iceland. Some people have said that these cities exist within the realm of inner earth. I'm going to tell you what, they do now. But what happened is the Tuatha came from these 4 cities onto the planet Earth to teach us the magic. And then when they had to go into the other realm and exist completely in the other world, they refounded these 4 cities. And so they exist within the inner earth realm, but they also exist on other planets. And it's just really cool the way that, like, I'll have a download and then I'll come across something that will like give me another aspect of it. So I saw this guy, it was like an interview from Gaia. If you guys aren't watching Gaia, cancel everything. Cancel every other streaming service you have and just start watching Gaia. Oh my gosh. It's like documentaries about the universe. Dr. Teresa Bullard is basically, I don't know how to say it. She's like a quantum physicist and a practicing witch. That woman is a master. So there's a series on there called Mystery Schools, something like that, with Dr. Teresa Bullard. You want to understand the quantum nature of the universe? Tune into that woman. All right. So anyways, they do other cool stuff. Like, they talk to people who are channels. There's lots of yoga and stuff on there. Joe Dispenza type stuff, probably. So Gaia is like the 4th density Netflix. Y'all need to get tuned in. Speaking of stations that we can pick up, frequencies that we can pick up. Nonetheless, in this particular one, they were talking to a guy who can channel extra dimensional energies, and he's talking about the extra dimensional energies that exist within what I referred to in my last reading as the inner earth realm. So it's like basically another dimension that exists on this planet. I believe it is a 5th density. Like, they're on a radio station that, like, we don't even have the numbers to go up to half the time. But as we move into the 4th density, it's so much easier to interact with them. Anyways, he was talking about how the extraterrestrials that are there have been on this planet for so long that they are earth beings now. They're extra dimensional earth beings. I'm talking about fae, giants, unicorns, mermaids, stuff like that. They came here thousands of years ago for different reasons. And there came a point on our planet where it just was no longer possible for them to exist at the vibrational density that they had before. And so that's why they essentially surrendered their bodies, their physical form, in order to exist in this earth plane. But anyways, this guy was talking about how the communities that exist there are usually a pretty good blend of our galactic neighbors, all right? So they're very, very well integrated. So it's not like there's a group of people and be like, oh, those are the Syrians beings and those are the Pleiadian beings, right? And that just really, really immediately when I heard that guy talking about that, I was like, oh, like the Tuatha De Danann, right? So as I was like, you don't understand the pages of notes that I have that I was just channeling last night, asking questions about the Tuatha De Danann. According to the mythology, they come from these 4 mythical cities. And the message that I channeled in my reading the other day was that those cities are on other planets, okay? I don't know if you guys have ever had memories of being in an off-planet mystery school. I do, and it's really cool because it's almost like you grow up and then you go away to university and get to meet people from, like for me it was Kansas. I went to university and I was like, I know somebody from Texas and Minnesota, right? But it's almost like you go to this place where other people from other parts of the world comes to. You come together to learn something, and then you also are able to connect with all these different civilizations, okay? So the 4 civilizations that I believe are represented by these 4 cities where the Tuatha De Danann got their training, they want me to know that it's Vegan, Lyran, Pleiadian, and Syrian. It's almost like they are a group of light beings who met at a mystery school, trained at a mystery school, and then their goal was, let's bring this to Earth. I don't even know if it's, for some reason, I feel like they almost crash landed here. Okay? But nonetheless, they have been a part of our planet for thousands of years. Thousands of years. And we never knew that they were there. We get glimpses of them. But now the veils are lifting. Our ability to communicate with the other, I'm going to call them intraterrestrial, because they're not from other planets. They're just not like human beings in our form. Okay? But here's what's cool about those 4 cities and the Tuatha De Danann, all right? And the Magician's Table. They brought with them, let me get my list. So from these 4 cities, they brought with them these 4 treasures, okay? The Sword of Light. Lu's spear. Lu is a god that's associated with, oh gosh, a bunch of, he's kind of a magician, right? Type character. But we have a sword, we have a spear, okay? Then we have the Dagda's cauldron, also known as the cauldron of plenty. And then the stone of destiny. Is that not air, fire, water, and earth? Are those not the 4 elements? Right? So I just had this, oh my gosh, sorry about that, you guys. I just had this crazy, epiphany. I'm going to get my stuff together. Okay, sorry guys, I so got it together now. I didn't even have breakfast. If it was up to me, I would not. Like, I slept until 10 this morning because I was up late, like, mad scientisting, like, all of these notes and research on the Tuatha De Danann. Like, I was up till 3:30 a.m. So I slept until 10, and I literally was just not going to get it. I wasn't going to get dressed, but then Spirit was like, psst, let's get online and finish our discussion. All right, so they brought with them from these 4 places, these 4 tools. Let me see if I can get a magician. A sword, a wand, a cauldron, or a cup, and then a stone or a pentacle. Here's what's cool. The stone, basically, oh my God, resonant frequency. Oh my God. So the idea is it's this stone that can tell you who is the rightful High King of Ireland. And the way that you know is when this person like sits on this stone, it vibrates, it sings. Oh my gosh, because that's resonant frequency. Basically, they brought these magical tools from another dimension, another planet. Okay, you see how he's got the sword, the wand, the cauldron, the stone. The stone is the pentacle. So it's almost like they brought us those tools with which to do magic because we didn't have the tools that exist when you are in a higher frequency physical manifestation. The higher frequency physical manifestation we're beginning to step into. Okay, I have to turn the pictures are talking too much. Is that we're stepping into right now. Let's get back to the cards. The energy that we're stepping out of